All right, Scrooge.
Yeah,
Tonight's,
baby.
you're ready for tonight, right?
I'm ready now. Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet. So let's give a little bit of history behind tonight's choice because we had a couple other choices as
Yeah, we had a
well.
misfire. We definitely had 3 strikes and you're out almost. We were close. We were on second strike.
Well, let's go. A first one that we watched.
Well, so I just felt because I really enjoyed the experience of watching Halloween Resurrection, given I only have a couple entries in the franchise I'm familiar with. So I was like, oh, you know what? You mentioned how bad the other couple were in there. Let's give those a try. So you mentioned that the worst one was 6.
Yes.
The Curse of Michael Myers.
Absolutely. Anyone out there who is a fan of the franchise, you know that the sixth one has to be the worst one.
So I was like, okay, cool, because I'm going off of Resurrection. So I'm like, cool, let's check it out.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, 30 minutes into it, it was actually boring me to death. It was literally
It really is boring.
sucky. Like, not even a good, like, it wasn't even good bad. It was literally just boring me to death.
Yeah. So we turned that off, and then
Right,
we decided.
so-
I thought maybe we could go to the fifth movie because there's a lot of fun in the fifth, and I thought that maybe, it might be worth our time. But
Right. So I was like trusting, AC on this, of course, as I usually do, given, how much he loves this, shit.
Yeah.
These shitty movies.
And then, like I said, the fifth is fun if you've seen the other movies and you understand what's going on. It's fun. It's definitely not for somebody that hasn't seen the other films. And I realized about a quarter of the way quarter of the way through that we were like, I don't think you'd like it.
No, the same. I
because of
got
that.
the same exact feeling on this one as well. While I was watching that, I'm like, well, this is garbage too.
Mm-hmm.
So then we had the pleasure of having, what was it, a 10-pack? What was the name of your?
I have a movie 8-pack. It's right here.
Yeah.
A horror collection. We have some classics on here. Let me read them out loud. Waxwork, 976 Evil 2, The Astral Factor.
Oh my God, that sounds like a porno.
We're going to have to watch that. That's about an
sounds like
evil telephone service because there used to be these things called 976 numbers.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Where you would call them and, talk dirty or whatever's on that other line.
An evil telephone line.
Yes, and you want to know who directed the first movie was Freddy Krueger himself, Robert Englund.
He
Directed the first one, and of course there's a second one, so we'll have to do that one time. Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College. I don't know, you're a fan of monster movies. Have you ever heard of the Ghoulies?
It sounds familiar, but don't.
I think it was before Gremlins, but it kind of takes off the Gremlins fame of like...
Okay, I think Gremlins was 84, so...
It might have been right after that then. Actually,
Okay.
You're right. Yeah, maybe. The Unholy, Chud 2.
Yeah, I've heard of Chud.
Yeah, and there's a second one. It's called Bud the Chud. It's more of a comedy. It's more of a comedy compared to the first one. Slaughter High, which is one that I told you, easily one of my favorite horror movies ever. It's an independent film made in Britain. It's pretty dope. It's pretty because I worked in a school for a long time and they shoot it all. Shooting a school at night, I think, is one of the for anybody out there that wants to make a movie and you could steal this idea, go right ahead. I think filming in a school at nighttime is so creepy. Like, I don't know if you've ever been in a public building after night, like even like libraries after dark are kind of creepy.
I never had a chance.
But this entire film, Slaughter High, takes place in a high school at night, and it's kind of creepy, so I really like that one. And then there's also this one you can see right here. Essentially looks like the Terminator, Class of 1999. Have you ever seen Clockwork Orange?
I've seen bits and pieces.
The main character, Malcolm McDowell, which actually plays Dr. Loomis in
Alex D. Lodge.
Yes, Malcolm McDowell. He also plays Dr. Loomis in Rob Zombie's Halloween remake.
Wow.
As well. He is in this film as well. It is a 1990 film, actually. And
It looks like trash.
of course, last but not least, Chopping Mall.
Well, see, the thing is that he also brought a copy of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1. I don't know if that's, what is this supposed to be, a sequel or a remake? What is that supposed to be?
Okay, so there's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 and 2. Directed by Tobe Hooper, who originally directed the first two. And then there's one called 3. It's like Leatherface or something. And then they made this one, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, with Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger.
I remember reading an article about, I think McConaughey just straight up disavows the film or wants to pretend like it doesn't even exist.
But it was one of his first films, so he's got to give it to that it was...
That classic.
The classic start.
Yeah,
to
the
this
classic
movie.
start, if you will.
So we went through these films and we decided, for the last part, we were thinking it's either going to be Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Chopping Mall, because I felt like Scrooge hasn't seen Chopping Mall, and for those out there that have seen Chopping Mall and that are picking this episode because they like Chopping Mall, you know that I had to show this to Scrooge.
Well, as soon as
I
he
had to.
mentioned like the plot to Chopping Mall, that got me, a lot more interested in the last 2 Halloween duds we tried watching. So we left it up to fate. We took a coin and
We
flipped,
did,
and
yep.
heads decided Chopping Mall was.
I was not wishing
flavor.
Chopping Mall. Like, I want to show you Chopping Mall, but I felt like this one with Matthew McConaughey was going to be absolutely more batshit insane. But we had a
guess
fun
what?
time.
We got all the time in the world.
We got
to come
so
back
much
to that.
time.
So much time. We'll come back to that. Don't worry.
We will. But yeah, so we decided on Chopping Mall, and I had a fun time, and I think you did too.
I did.
So we're actually happy to talk about this
Yes.
one tonight, unlike the
Yes.
past couple ones.
Yeah, pretty macabre the past couple of times when you say this time is a little more upbeat. Like
Yes.
this is a happy funeral.
This is good. Oh yeah.
this
Oh
is,
yeah. We're
It's
having
like the person who who died. You wanted to you've been waiting for them to go. They
Yeah.
finally kicked it. Now we can actually kick and jam a little bit. So
this is like fireworks at a funeral.
right.
You
Yeah.
know,
This
like,
is the person you've been waiting for to finally hit the big one, kick the bucket.
Well, that would make me AC, and you are,
I am Scrooge.
and these are.
Real bad movies.
All right. So, in the beautiful year of 1986,
Yes, sir.
the world was blessed by a Roger Corman flick, and you know about Roger Corman, right?
Yeah, as you kept mentioning the name, I swear to God, I know I've heard this name multiple times, and I'm pretty sure it's from all of the riff tracks I get into.
Yes.
Them mentioning that name.
Roger Corman is well known as one of the, I guess the term would be schlock. He makes just a bunch of movies.
Oh yeah. Okay.
He has 414 credits of producing on IMDb. It is nuts. He is in so much different, so anything you can think of, the straight to video market, from the late, I'd say maybe, no, video wasn't big around late 70s. I would say the 80s on, he was really big and behind mostly all of the schlock films. I mean, I'm just looking at, he's behind the Deathstalker franchise. You've heard about that, correct?
Yeah, I heard about that one.
Slumber Party Massacre 2, a
my
previous
God.
episode that
Swear
we
to
have
God.
done.
That was one of the worst viewing experiences of my life.
Easily. He did a lot of the 80s. Throughout the 80s, they really liked like bad sci-fi movies. We need to get into some of those. Like I'm looking at one.
Yeah,
right
you
here.
and I haven't cracked into some bad sci-fi yet, but we will. We'll get there.
Oh yeah.
There's always time.
There's so much time. Like some of these, like I'm just reading Blood Fist. There's a movie called
Blood Fist.
Blood Fist. Wow, this looks great. We're gonna have to do this.
See, this is what I don't understand.
So
Real
much
quick
good stuff.
sidebar is
Yeah.
that why can't we just run into one of these idiots that literally is okay with making anything?
Yes.
And is willing to just like throw 10 grand our way and just be like, yo, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you wanna make a show about Mexican immigrants that turn into tacos and murder people at night? While also strip teasing on the side, they're like, here's 20 grand. And we're like, oh,
But
thank you.
listen, though, I think the difference between that is that back in the day with, well, I guess we'll talk about the Netflix, how Netflix is revising. Like you said, you go on Netflix, you see
Yeah.
all these bad movies being made. You don't
Right.
know how
Well,
they're
okay.
getting made.
Well, pretty much. Yeah. What it is, it's just becoming digitized. It's
Yes.
becoming streaming. It's become
Exactly.
streamlined. No pun intended. It's becoming streamlined.
No, there was a
where-
pun intended right there.
There literally is. No, you're right. That was just a different era, so it was just
It
done
was.
differently. But it's the same thing. It's the same underlying. We want a bunch of material. We want a bunch of stuff to be able to just throw out there and act like we have a giant catalog of stuff. When really it's a bunch of garbage.
It's crazy to think about because think about it. So like in the 80s when you had to release this, it had to obviously go on a physical format. It had to go on a VHS.
Yeah, it had
that
to.
is like that in comparison to putting your stuff out on like Netflix or other streaming sites. Don't
Yeah.
you think that would be a lot more money to put out your physical media, like your tapes, and because you'd have to get those tapes made, you would have to put money in for that, and you'd have to send it out to different video rental stores.
Yeah, I personally would be more.
Where
money
now
involved.
you just have to somehow pitch it to Netflix, and then they put it on. You're not printing anything. You're not printing DVDs.
I think it's
or
definitely
anything.
cheaper and it's more efficient, but I would love to know numbers, and I don't know if you can actually like go after this because I feel like this is a lot of, I don't know, like things you can't really analyze, but
Trace
I would love to know if it's working in the sense of customer consumer consuming of it, customer like customer consumption of it, in the sense of think like back in the days we talked about. that was what you did though. You would go out either to the movies, like that's literally why kung fu movies and stuff became popular in the 70s, is because in a lot of the low class, poverty areas, they had nothing playing except for these cheap theaters. They were just,
Yes, New
throwing
York
Hong
City,
Kong
I've
movies.
heard, was big in that.
Yeah,
right?
that's learn about when you like find documentaries on that stuff. It's awesome, but I bring it up because it's like that's what you had. That's all you had to do. Same thing with like the video store era, where you would come in and see what's on the walls and stuff. I bring this up because I think to myself, this is just me. Now I know we like watching bad movies, but how many times do you scroll through Netflix and literally pass by a ton of shit you will never watch in your life?
And it's crazy because Netflix is so big nowadays, but they're still giving like green light to a
That's
bunch
what I'm
of
saying.
garbage.
Like there's
shit.
so much. Like I
Yeah.
get it. That's great for the people, but like for me, there's no way in hell I'm ever gonna, almost choose this stuff. So like, who's actually watching it? Because I never like. Are you kidding?
There's somebody. Out
I
there
literally
watching.
tried going through Prime Video, and they're like, "Oh, here's all these movies included with Prime." I'm like, "Oh, great!"
Yeah.
Like 15 movies in, it went right to like bottom Z barrel, like movies I've never heard of, ones that aren't even worth watching, like Tubi almost level.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, you guys are just a bunch of fucking liars. I'm paying for this for no reason. But I'm just saying, it's like, I get it. I get the idea. But, like, who's really watching this stuff?
There's an audience, and I always think, okay, you got a couple people that are watching this shit.
How about enough for a profit is what I mean. Like, of
That-
course, there's people out there, like,
yeah,
we're
that are
watching
gonna
this
watch
garbage.
it,
I mean,
yeah.
I love this. It's
Well, there's
been
people
fun.
like us. There's people
Yeah.
who I believe are like disabled, who are just at home all day long, and they're even like
Yeah.
or older people that are retired, or people that
Introverts.
alcoholics, drug addicts. They like
Yeah.
you sit around,
Introverts.
you smoke.
Anybody, yeah.
You smoke a shit ton of pot. You drink a lot of beer.
Yeah.
You're not leaving off that couch. Yeah, introverts. You're just clicking on the TV and watching whatever happened. Whereas, so something like this, obviously, it was in like a VHS store. I do not believe this was in a theater. I
You mean Shopping Mall?
yeah.
No, remember.
It actually had a theatrical release.
Yeah, let me read
Really?
let me read one of the trivia so we
Because
get the bottoms of this.
When I think of a film like this, I don't think of that. I think of like a small release.
I agree too, but actually, so one of the trivia it mentions is the movie was originally released in March 1986 under the title Killbots.
Yes.
It performed poorly, and the producers felt the movie's title turned off the audiences, which might thought that it was based on the movie poster where it's Transformers like children's cartoon instead of a violent exploitation movie that it was. So the movie was re-released to theaters under the title Chopping Mall, which
Yes.
was 15 minutes
but
cut.
they've done that before, though. You know that.
Right,
That's
but
a
I'm
thing.
saying it was in theaters though.
Yeah.
So
I
it's like
see right here
it was
too.
in theaters.
Said it was
So-
released in limited theaters on March 21st, 1986. But they do that though. I've heard of that happen a lot, where a film will perform poorly, so then
Yeah.
throw change the name, and a
Yeah,
lot
throw
of
it back out there.
yes, exactly. A lot of overseas audience like can get thrown off by that because they're like, oh, it's a completely different new movie, but then here we obviously know it's the same garbage.
Yeah, no,
a
they do
lot
the
of
same
time.
thing to foreign movies. That's how like most of the movies. That
That's
either
what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Jackie Chan. I mean, I love the man, but like he took like most of his Chinese movies, re-edited them with different names.
With different, yeah.
Calling himself Jackie in every movie. I'm not even kidding. Like every movie's Jackie, so they do that all the time. They messed up Bruce Lee's movies.
Yep.
They for the longest time the different titles were known. So yeah, it's just the point is you said was it released in theaters, and it was at some point.
It was.
So
It's just crazy to think that like you would go
to a theater to
go
watch
out on a
this.
date and watch this. Yeah, it's oh, what a movie. So this was made in 1986.
Yeah.
It claims right here to be a science fiction comedy horror movie, which I think is that's a good representation.
Yeah,
of it.
I would say so.
Because like you were saying tonight, AC loves to give the benefit of the doubt.
You really do. You're just such an angel.
But you were actually on the side of the benefit of the doubt tonight, because you were saying that you believe that it was actually supposed to be a horror movie, like science fiction horror movie. But I knew it was.
Yeah.
It was very comedic. I mean, even from the opening montage that we'll talk about coming up. But like, I don't know. I mean, you were giving it more of a chance than I was tonight.
because it is 80s. Let's lay down the groundwork. Okay, let's take out our shovels and lay down the groundwork. Groundwork is this is an 80s movie, so that already puts it on a different playing field, because like the stuff we mentioned that was more comedic or whatever, it's like I've seen that though in other action movies or whatever that wouldn't call themselves comedy.
Yeah.
So like it's actually even used the trivia. The as we're building up the backstory of this movie, the mall they shot this in was the same mall they used to shoot in Commando. And I don't know if you've ever seen Commando,
No, I
which
haven't.
is a Travis. I reach over this desk and kill you. I swear
I
to
thought
God.
that movie takes place in a jungle. Every time I see
That's
pictures
Predator.
Of it, What?
That's Predator.
But like the cover of Commando
No,
is like
yes,
him
yes,
in like.
yes, he's got paint on him and stuff. That's because he does a military ambush at one point, like kind
Like
of thing.
in a mall?
No.
Then what is the mall? What's really? I don't get the relation to
There's
the
a
mall.
part I can't. I don't want to tell you because it's gonna ruin the movie.
Okay,
He has
that's
to
fine.
go to the mall to find one of the guys that betrayed. I'll give you the spoiler-free version. He has to go to the mall to tell one of these guys that betrayed him, and it turns into a huge scene because he's wanted. He's wanted for murder, thinking that he's wanted for murder. So he gets into a scrap with the security. It turns into a big, shootout inside the mall. The mall is probably only a scene that lasts like 10 minutes tops.
Okay. Well, wasn't
That's
there
interesting.
another Arnold movie that took place in a mall? It was either Last Action Hero or
stuff happened Jingle All the Way. That was in the mall.
I know that one, obviously.
Well, what
but
else are you talking about?
I'm trying to think. Was it Terminator 2?
Oh, Terminator, yeah.
That's what.
Yes,
that's what
yes.
I'm thinking of. Not Last.
Well, I love it that this
Last
man thinks he
Action
can
Hero.
watch T2 and then he's just good forever, like with watching anything else.
I
good.
get that movie mixed up with Last Action Hero.
It's
be
a great
honest.
T2 is great, but my point is, so Commando.
Yes.
Take Commando. If you haven't seen it, but I can tell you, just the movie is one of the funniest action movies of all time. But it's not a comedy. It's not a comedy. It's just 80s. It's 80s.
just so
It's
80s
so
that it's
80s.
funny.
It's Arnold. I mean, he's quipping. He's doing his one-liners
I
at the
get
worst
that.
times. Doesn't make any sense. They're joke. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like it's comical violence and everything else. But in no way is it ever called a comedy. Is it referred to as a comedy?
Yeah.
So that's why when
You're
you're
right.
like,
That's
that's why you're like, oh, well, it's got to be a comedy because they wrote it like this. It's like, no, I don't mean 80s movies I've seen that have been
written so poorly, but
yeah,
they
either written
come
so, or
off
they
as-
say to the audience that we're a serious movie, but then you listen and watch, and it's completely the opposite, or it's actually the juxtaposition, if you will, of the fact.
Ooh, big word.
Yeah, you like that? I just
Yeah,
looked at my
nice.
dictionary today. Yeah,
Perfect.
not bad, huh?
College graduate, right?
That's right. I'm going to not Fredonia. I'm going to Donia.
You're going to
It's
Donia.
Donia. That's the chief.
Bonia.
That's the, oh.
So
Good
yeah,
one.
let's get into it. Chopping Mall. It was directed by a guy that says Jim Wynorski. I don't know anything else that this man has done. Apparently, I guess he has directed over 150 feature films. So apparently he was really
Damn.
big into like B movies and exploitation movies
Let's
and
take a
stuff,
look. I'll
which is perfect.
take a look with you here.
He also directed the other movie on the DVD set that I have, 976 Evil 2.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
We're going to have to watch that one time.
He directed a movie called Final Voyage starring Ice-T.
Oof, yeah, he makes a lot of bad B movies. So this man's been around, and I think he was absolutely perfect choice for this role.
His latest movie is called Cobra Gator from 2018.
That's it? I was expecting something like longer after
no,
you said
Cobra Gator. A Doggone Hollywood.
Huh, okay.
Legend of the Naked Ghost.
Dude, this man, we're going to have to dig through this
Yeah,
man's
Shark Babies.
filmography. Wow.
Scared Topless.
Is that a porno? That might be a borderline porno.
It says Showtime, so
Yes, it definitely is a porno then.
soft corn.
Yes.
Soft corn. There you go.
Soft corn.
That's actually my favorite kind of porn is soft corn because I love
So
corn
Troll
so much.
2 is kind of a soft corn because there is that one corn part in it.
Oh my God.
All right, let's not get too sidetracked. So this film is essentially about,
you.
right here, a group of young shopping mall employees stay behind for a late night party in one of the stores. When the mall goes on lockdown before they can get out of there, the robot security system malfunctions and goes on a killing spree.
Yes, sir.
So we start this movie off, beautiful, what was that, lightning video at the beginning? It had that cool, like, intro, super 80s kind of, like the beginning of a tape usually. They'll show, like, the generic company that's, the production company that's
Yeah,
making it.
the logos.
Yeah, that was super 80s. But then we get right into this, for some reason, this dude's in a mall. He's a thief, and he's breaking into a
Stereotypical bad guy. of
jewelry
course. He's
store.
dirty.
Yeah.
He's got his clothes. He looks like he's from West Side Story of he's waiting to come down and start
Yep.
taking your wallet.
Have you seen A Christmas Story?
Yeah.
You
I
know,
hate
in
that movie.
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
sorry.
but in Christmas Story when he's fantasizing that he's shooting all those criminals
Yeah.
coming on his that's
Yeah,
what he
yeah.
reminded me of. Like
It's the stereotypical
the striped shirt, the like goofy what do they put like black stuff around their eyes
Yeah, and they got
stuff?
the big sack with the
Yeah,
dollar
yeah.
bill on it. Yeah. So that's which is funny because this is where actually the movie got me because I was thinking, oh, we're going straight into it right away.
Yeah, like
Right away,
into
like
it.
here, this is a stereotypical burglar, like the most stereotypical.
It's a trick intro, to be honest.
I was
it
like,
fools
all right.
you a little bit.
Which was actually creative because it's revealed
Wow.
that it's actually like a promo. It's a promo video for.
Wait, can you say that again?
I said promo.
No. The creative part, because I think I've said that before on a past podcast about how I said a movie was being creative, and you just said I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. So
That's crazy.
the roles have reversed this time around.
Don't know what you're talking about.
I like
Probably
it.
smoking them funny cigarettes, son. So it turns out to be a creative promo that this, I guess, this is the fun. I think this is probably to start off the movie the funniest thing, at least to me. I think AC felt the same way. Is that we have no idea what the fuck kind of mall this is because it starts off as some kind of like promo pitch meeting.
Yes.
In the middle of the mall with like some dude in a suit. We can't tell like they're trying to act like this is like the most, high maximum like security mall of all time.
Yeah.
That a mall that has like 15 stories. It's like I don't know, holds like gold bullion and like in the basement.
Yeah,
it has like the president on the third floor.
It's presumed that this is the most important mall in America. The way that this place is taken care of, it's unbelievable. Honestly, it's now imagine nowadays if like malls had this much care taken to them, because obviously this movie is a product of the 1980s, malls being a huge part of it. And I'm glad that you and me were able to grow up in a world where we actually did get to experience some of that.
Yeah, because
that
being in
mall
a mall
life.
because I still like going to the mall when it's normal and you can.
But
go
when
and
you were a
enjoy
kid
stuff.
too, like, do you remember like the places around us? Those places were popping when we were younger.
Oh yeah, that was the place. That was the place to be. And
it really was.
You'll see occasionally like that old like ghost of that kind of at malls here and there. But it's usually like a weird group of kids that just kind of hang out. Just
kids
the mall,
that hang out. Yeah, but like so this film kind of supposes, because it's the 80s, that malls are the most important thing, and I feel like this movie wouldn't make sense if you didn't know that the 80s were, because you look at it nowadays, because eventually malls are going to completely just disappear and that's going to suck. But this was obviously just a product of the 80s, and there's this like weird presentation that this guy is giving for some reason.
I think he must be the mall owner, but he's giving this new presentation about these new security robots that are going to be the future of mall enforcement, if you will. And he's showing their features on this really like shoddy diagram that this woman's like holding for him.
Yeah,
and it's got like just levels of the mall. It's not really explained fully, but he's like, yeah, they got they have claws, they have stuff they can do or whatever, and then it's a Q&A with the audience. The audience starts asking dumb questions like the stereotypical dummies in the audience going like, oh, does it do this or does it do that? And he's like, oh yes, it definitely does that and more.
And then he shows them and he contacts the scientist, which is hilarious. That there is full-blown employed, like fully in, like these people are working full time.
Yes,
there's no way that these people aren't working part time, but full time scientists that are at your local mall. Like, isn't that just amazing to think about to me?
Well, no, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, well, no, that's what I'm saying is that like imagine like growing up and like you want to be a scientist, and it's like amazing because it's like you get, because I would imagine going into science and stuff like that, you get sent to remote parts of the world. You could literally hang out at your local mall and be in charge of robots.
In charge of security robots. The funniest thing was, at first, I actually didn't think, I thought it was a joke. Like, I thought like we were gonna find out that this was a scam, like the robot thing was a scam, like it wasn't actually this guy trying to do that. It was like a scam of like just trying to get money from like investors or whatever. Then I realized no, they actually mean that's an actual scientist supposed to be locked up in the basement, outside the attic.
It's actually like on the roof. There's like they show it at one point. I think it's like a diorama, but it's like a giant bulb kind of.
Where one scientist just sits up there and takes care of the security robots.
But that's
they said scientist. They didn't say like anything else. They specified a scientist.
Exactly. Right. And so what I remember what they say is, so these robots, which they showed in the video in the beginning, these robots will shoot the person that's in the mall that's not supposed to be, and will like shoot a sleep dart at them, and then they'll call the authorities.
Yes, that's what he said.
Why go through all this trouble when you could just have a basic alarm or something that would alert the authorities?
And he says that, but in the video, it's him shooting a cord that electrocutes the guy. It incapacitates him, and then then they say something about a dart. Then he mentions the dart. Then he kind of passes. Which we also mentioned that he kind of passes off that if you're an employee, because someone's like, oh, what if you're an employee at night? You're going to get attacked by these robots. He's like, no, everything's fine. You just
Show him the card.
You show him
right?
this card, but he shoves it right into its face, like right up close, and everything's fine.
Yeah.
So you got to keep that in mind for later because, you know.
What happens.
Yeah, what happens. But so he does that quick, and that's on to the next.
And then we move to the montage of the mall. The mall's looking glorious. They show everything around the mall. They show, I mean, there's that goofy part with the escalator with, of course, the guys carrying all the different things. And these babes are going down the escalator.
But they're not just babes. They're like Miss America babes.
Yeah, they all have like satchels.
Bikinis and satchels on for no reason. Or sorry, sashes for no reason. For no reason.
Yeah.
I mean, they look fine as hell, so I'm not going to complain. But it's like, why? Doesn't make any sense.
It reminds me, there's a part also where they show the food court, which I really miss in a mall, where you would go to the food court.
Yeah.
There's so many people that would be.
Amazing.
The closest you get to that nowadays is airport food courts.
That's disgusting.
It's gross, but it's very close, where
That's
you get
disgusting.
a bunch of people just like hanging out at a food court, and you don't get that anymore. And there's a lot of in the beginning, there's a lot of shots of Coke. So I think Roger Corman had some ties.
Well, it's because it wasn't just Coke. It was Coke.
Oh, it was actual Coke.
It was
for
Coke.
The Coke budget.
Yeah, the Coke budget, as I told you.
Yes.
So the Coca-Cola paid for the Coke budget is how this worked.
There's every part of 80s, though, in this intro, because there's also a part where there's a arcade machine and a little kid's playing with the arcade
and
machine.
people keep getting distracted. Like, one person plays, and they get knocked off for some reason. Someone else hops on. Like, I feel like a music video. So this guy had, like, a music video touch or whatever, because it just, like, just one thing after another happens. And the same thing with, what kind of mall is this? It literally goes from, like, one thing to the next.
Yeah,
like,
there's so much going on in this mall, because there's also a kid skateboarding around to the intro as well.
And there's a bunch of like stuff. Like, it seemed like a city. I literally said, is this a city in a mall here or what?
I guess that like this entire small town is like funded by the mall. I think everybody works there. Like your parents or even anybody that doesn't work at the local school works at the local mall, because it's crazy to me. They like, you're right. It's almost like a small town inside this mall.
But then again, what you said, though, I do forget that we're thinking about malls today. Malls were the shit back in the 80s, where literally that was the place to go.
Yeah, there was no internet to allow.
It was time to go to the mall, so you literally probably had that many people, that much stuff going on, because the more the merrier in there.
Now, how do you feel? I mean, real quick, how do you feel about malls? Because, you know, there's a positive and there's a negative to everything. And then I think, okay, so a mall, positive, you get to walk around, look at different things.
Yeah.
Negative, though, usually they're more overpriced than you can get it online, and the selection is not as, you can't get as much in a mall.
Yeah.
Versus online, you got the positive of the price being cheaper, and the price being cheaper, as well as the selection is huge.
Yeah.
But the negative, I guess, to shopping online is not being able to feel things, touch things like you would in a mall, be able to check out things. What would you nowadays, if you could go to like a classic mall? Of course. Would you rather go to a mall, or would you rather shop online?
Well, first, are we talking about the things I'm feeling, holding, and touching? Are we talking about women, or are we talking about items in the mall?
I'm talking about items, you dumbass.
Oh, okay. No, so for real, my attitude, I try to balance everything out in life. So I think a couple of things to make it quick. I love going to the mall because I love social interaction. I think that for the most part, we as human beings are social beings. Not everybody. Not everybody is the same, obviously. Yeah. But I do think it's healthy.
I think society is built off of, obviously.
Yes, being socially least inclined a little bit. But I think it's also healthy, even if you're not someone who's more socially active, to be a little bit socially active, because you need to be out. You need to do stuff. You need to talk to people. Keep your mind clear. So I already like that social interaction. That's for one. Two, I love the almost like the treadmill exercises, in the sense that I love the idea that I can keep my mind active by going and looking at all the stuff I want to check out while also moving. Like, I'm trying to find the best way to describe it. I love it. It's one of my favorite pastimes to go with someone else, because it keeps things going. It's kind of like golf. If anyone's ever played golf, the reason why golf is a great thing to do with other people is because you don't have the awkwardness of something to slow down the time being together. So, like, literally, there's the underlying, you have to start from hole 1 to hole 18.
Yeah.
And so that whole time, it keeps
you
things flowing
things
while
do,
you are together. So you
Yes.
can talk here, you can talk there, and then you actually are able to have a time together and then leave. It's kind of the same thing with the mall. That's why actually the mall was one of my favorite things to go with people, either with friends or dates, because it's a great way to just interact with one another casually, naturally. That's more what I'm trying to get, naturally, and interact with each other while you're doing stuff, while you're checking out things you like and whatever. Now, on the stuff, I think that's just a payoff for what you're trying to look for. I personally like being able to both look at things, grab things, have the visual and the physical experience.
So you know
of
what you're
seeing
getting
stuff.
before you actually get it.
For sure. Clothes for sure. Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about this.
clothes 100%.
Clothes for sure. Almost any, except for like costumes and accessories like that. The idea of shopping online actually horrifies me, because that's getting close to like looking like something that's going to probably happen more with me in the future, which I don't want. But it's like, that sounds horrible. But if we're talking like nerd stuff, I definitely prefer to go into physical stores and check stuff out.
100%.
But I think a balance, because guess what? My attitude is it's good to check everything out everywhere, because some places might have, it's probably being a good shopper. That's what my parents always told me. Some places might have something you want. Some other places might have the other thing you want. And some places might not have what you want. So like when it comes to nerd stuff, it's like, I go into a store, I might find a copy of a DVD. I might, because there's some weird thrift store in this mall that, has it. But then I go online, I've been looking for this one fucking, DVD, and I can't find it. Or vice versa. You got those places in the mall that almost have no DVDs now, and now you got to go online to find it. So my attitude is, I think you need to keep a healthy balance.
Depends,
it depends on what you want, but for the most part, I would choose the mall over.
That's the thing, dude. I went the other week, the one right around the corner from you, and I think that's what I miss the most about malls is it's a gamble of what you want to get.
And what you want out of the experience.
That's
really
what reminds me of like old video rental stores, where like we're spoiled. Like nowadays, when it's like comes to I want to see a movie, well, you can go online, you can watch that movie.
Yeah.
Where back in the day, you could only see what your local video store had, and I think that the mall kind of limits you to that as well. Where this, like for example, those thrift stores that we're talking about within the mall, like you could literally, you don't know what you're gonna get, and you can get anything. And I think that kind of like surprise and fun, the internet's just completely different.
And
nowadays.
two things, the mall is one of the places where I can go in. Obviously it's fun to buy stuff, but personally I could go in without money or without a huge budget at the time and still enjoy myself walking around looking for ideas for the future, as just as much as enjoying it going in with money, and I can buy stuff. So like I like that experience of being able to do that, where I don't have to have a ton of money on me. And the second thing is, there is something to say about, we can see about clothes, but think about it depends on what you're into. If we, like you and I, we kind of like just weird stuff in general, both nerd related or just weird retro stuff in general. I would trust going into a thrift store or like one of those antique stores and seeing what I'm physically grabbing and looking,
Before
as opposed to
ordering
it on eBay
from like a warehouse.
Yeah,
and you don't even
and
know
there's a
what
picture, and you're like, okay, this seems fine, and then you order it. 4 weeks later, after shipping and everything else, it's something either was a lie or you got ripped off or anything.
You know what
like
you're
that.
gonna get when you're at a thrift store, or those kind of stores.
So I think it's really just even
depending
on what you want the experience. But I would tell you, pretty much, I would take the mall almost every day.
And after seeing this movie, I feel like we got.
I just want to go into a mall
We
now.
gotta go back out to a mall. So this mall has like multiple floors to it, like you were talking about. When they show the diagram in the beginning, it's like, I think it's 3 or 4 floors, and then like 2 basement floors. I guess
that's I don't know, because it would look like, to me, it looked like there was like 10 floors. Like it just goes to space.
Yeah, it was.
So I don't know. Maybe you could answer that better than I can.
I honestly don't know. I think they were just trying to make it seem like it's a big mall, and it's a big deal. And this film makes the mall into a big deal. So we start in this pizzeria within the mall, which is great. On the wall, there's a bunch of posters, which I believe are all Roger Corman.
They got to be,
flicks.
because they're like all like, because I mentioned the one, I said, what the hell was that? It was something really stupid.
Well, Galaxy of Terror, which I brought up, I believe earlier, is that poster is in it, as well as Slumber Party Massacre.
That's okay.
That was the one, and also one of Jim Warnowski's, the guy who directed it, Lost Empire. That's another one. So I believe that they were just they knew what they were doing with this. So the one dude, I forgot his name. I don't think they even gave him a name. Her boss.
Oh, I mean, like a stereotypical Luigi.
Fredo. This dude is I guess he's got the classic chef hat on it. The classic.
Yes, that's
He's
right.
got the chef hat, so of course he's got all that filth on his shirt. This man is disgusting.
Yeah, there's like, so that's the funniest thing. He's not working. he's yelling and
He's
he's
just
telling these women
yelling,
to
yeah.
work, but he's not working. But he has what they obviously did was like, okay, yeah, make him look like he's actually cooking. It looks like he just smeared shit on himself. Like I've been to you've been to Paul's Donuts, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Have you? Most of the time, the employees are covered in flour. Which
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, I get it. You're working
Making
at a
donuts,
donut
yeah,
place.
they're-
This dude literally has like brown spots all over his shirt. It doesn't even look like he's cooking. It looks like he just
Look,
shitted
he
all
just-
over himself.
Yeah, or he like jumped into like a pile of like filth on the ground or whatever. It's just disgusting. And then he lights up a cigarette and
Oh yeah, because we come in on the two of the I guess you can call them protagonists.
yes,
They-
the loosest word, the loosest term, I guess, of
yeah, for protagonists.
protagonists.
These two blonde chicks, or what? Yeah, was it? Or no, one was. This is why they're so interchangeable. It was two chicks for sure. It was
The
the one that
one-
you thought was an old bag.
So I'm gonna call this. We'll call that the old bag. We'll call her
Okay.
the grandma-looking lady.
Okay,
She's-
we'll call her Granny.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's got this haircut that I swear to God is so wide it has like its own zip code. Like this thing is so large, and like I told you, my aunt when she was younger, I've seen pictures
Yeah.
of like my aunts in the '80s. They had this haircut, but for some reason, like it looks like it should be on a 50-year-old woman.
Well, you know what I call that? I call it the Christmas tree. Because
It is. Yes, you're right. You're
It
right.
goes down like a triangle.
Whoever out there, if if you want to check out this movie, just check it out specifically so you know what we're talking about. This hairstyle, it's almost like a perm, but it kind of like
Yeah.
goes out, I guess, a little bit.
It's a feathered perm. That's what I call it.
Okay.
The reason why I say feathered is because I'm used to the term feathered because one, my hair used to be feathered, and also a lot of good 80s hairstyles are feathered. Kurt Russell, Patrick
Yes.
Swayze,
Yep.
Don Johnson from Miami Vice.
Yeah.
So
It's like layered,
yeah,
kind
so
of,
yes,
correct? Yes.
you either call it layered, feathered, but that's pretty much that's that 80s baby. So you get the two chicks, they're
Yes.
friends, they're talking about the one's more uptight, who's the granny. The other one's like, oh, we're gonna, I guess, have a party after work
In the mall.
In the mall, if we're gonna hook you up with this this dork or whatever. And they're going back and forth, and they have wacky conversation that leads up to one of the dishes breaking on the floor, and then Luigi
Yep.
starts complaining
Yelling.
in Italian, and then he just pops a cigarette in, which glorious days of smoking indoors.
Oh, yeah.
He just pops a cigarette
While
in his
you're
mouth.
making a pizza,
Yes.
by the way.
While you're making food in front, that's the best part. It's not like to clarify, it's a kitchen or it's a restaurant set up like Subway where people are making food literally in front of you.
In the same room.
In the same
It's
room.
not like you're going
Yeah.
back to the kitchen.
He's
or
not in the
anything.
kitchen. He's not like smoking outside. He's literally just smoking right in people's face as he's preparing their food. So that's hilarious. So yeah, we get the two chicks out of
And
the
then
way.
it cuts. I love one of my favorite cuts in cinema history has to be waitress, more butter from the one because they're
Oh, yeah, my
the
spirit
comedic
animal.
joke,
Yeah,
is
it's my
this
spirit
dude
animal.
who's just sitting. You can see him in the back of the shot, in the back of the frame. He's sitting back there just wolfing down pizzas. There's so many different dishes of food,
And they're
like,
mocking him too about being so fat. Like
oh,
he's there
of
all
course.
the time. He's
yeah.
eating a bunch.
And that's why Luigi, I think, is really pissed off, to be honest, is because of this guy. But yeah, it ends and he goes, waitress, more butter. And then it just cuts so quick. I don't even think he finishes the word butter.
Like,
Like,
this is more butter. And then, like you said, what does he need butter for?
yeah, it's like, I mean, maybe for bread, but like, is this a place that also serves pizza?
The food I saw on the on the plates looked disgusting.
Yeah.
Okay, it looked like slop. It looked like probably they took the cheapest whatever out of the can, just threw it together on a
Just
plate,
threw it on there,
and
yeah.
wanted to make sure that unless they used an actual place in the mall, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry for anyone who ate there. So
Ooh, yeah, I'm sorry about that too. So right after this cut, it cuts to the lightning strike on top of the mall, which is just great. And
make sure you don't forget lightning strikes, classic. 80s effects lightning strikes, not
Yes,
real lightning.
not
It's
real
not a real
lightning.
lightning
No,
storm.
no,
It's
no.
literally just bolts of like squiggles going.
yep, and then they put like a white flash on the screen so
Yeah.
you know that it happens. And yeah, so then we cut to the scientist sitting up there. He's just reading, and then he pulls out a dirty porno mag, huh?
Yeah, NASA scientists
How
getting
about
down on
that?
a little nasty
And
NASA.
yes, obviously you know that the lightning, of course, because we talked about this earlier about
Yes.
how Jason Voorhees in the Friday the 13th franchise was brought back to life by lightning, kind of like Frankenstein, maybe.
Do you want to add another one to the list?
Huh.
In King Kong versus Godzilla, King Kong loses in one of the battles, and guess what? He gets brought back to full strength.
Lightning?
Lightning.
See, I never knew. I mean, obviously, lightning is electricity. Totally get that. I
Yes.
never knew the lore behind why they. It's almost like lightning is like magical. It has almost a magical.
Because I think
sense to it.
they in these movies they look at it. They look at it. One, they need an escape route. They need something to get the thing going.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the almost think of lightning like plugging the computer back in, like no, I'm saying like turning the lamp back on. I think they look at it like it's just a cure all, like almost like a defibrillator. Like something clear. It's like shocks you back to life.
Just brings you
Maybe
back.
that's the idea. I think,
But
that,
I don't
like,
think that
it
works
doesn't-
for
no
robots
It doesn't make any sense. No,
that are made out of metal and electricity. I don't think.
Okay, I would say in the robot sense, what they're trying. I'm not saying they, but I do think like when you see this trope, I think that's just an example of how things go haywire. Like
Haywire,
say
yes.
if you spill a
Program
cup of
things.
coffee on your keyboard, it might
Uh-huh.
short circuit and blow up, or it might start shortening out. So I think that alone is just trying to play off of that trope of like, well, electrical problems can start messing it up.
Exactly. There's like a moral dilemma in a lot of science fiction where they create an android and then they wonder like, the android is taking on human features. In this movie, it's talking like a human. The robots are
Yep.
talking, but it comes to a point where you think like, okay, if this human or this robot or whatever, this android can replicate like human emotion, will it eventually turn violent like
Yeah.
humans do? So I think that's where it is, but not explained at all. There's absolutely no explanation except lightning. So we get that.
And it was also the lightning didn't actually hit them directly either, like in the shots.
It just touched the top of the building.
It just touched the top. That was it.
Which makes it hits the concrete of the building and then that
yeah.
turns.
It just like trickles down. That's where that I thought that was even more like lazy, because it's one thing I didn't see the Jason, but it hits him directly, right? In the Jason.
Yeah, it hits. Yeah. I think he's wearing chains or something.
Okay,
and
so it hits him directly.
Yeah.
Like this, it literally just squiggles in the sky, and then all of a sudden they're evil. Like so, there's like literally it just goes. It jumps from 0 to 60 like nothing. But
It's
robots are
lazy.
evil. So then
Yeah.
now we shoot to I think it's
The
was it
furniture
Furniture
store.
King. I think
Of
it
course,
said Furniture King,
which
yeah,
sounds like
baby.
a Chinese restaurant.
It does
China
actually.
King. Funny
That's
enough.
right. Yeah, Furniture King.
Yeah, and so we get this dude named Michael who
Queen
looks
mattress
like
10 minute.
you get a 5-10.
the Queen mattress 10 minute.
That would be awesome if you get a mattress in 10 minutes.
quickly?
That'd be great.
Well,
yeah.
we got
so we got Michael, who looks like Tom Cruise.
well, he's doing his best time.
He kind of looks like him though, with the feather. You were saying the feathered hair.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
think
very similar.
we could use this opportunity real quick. So this is 86. I do believe. Oh yeah, for sure. Risky Business came out in 83.
Yeah,
Yep,
the Color
83.
Money.
Color Money, I think that was 86. But Top Gun, I think was 85.
Yes,
So,
you're
which
right. You're
Color
right.
Money is a great movie, by the way.
Yeah, I've
I
seen
like that
a
one.
little bit. Who's in that? Paul Newman.
Palma, yeah, Paul Newman. Because it's a sequel to the Hustler, his original,
Yes,
movie.
yes, he comes back.
which
I
is
watched a little bit. Of that.
extremely depressing movie, actually, The Hustler.
And Outsiders was also out around
Yeah.
that time.
Okay, so yeah, Risky Business, Top Gun,
Legend
and then I forgot he was in that.
and Cocktail. I believe the
Oh no,
next
Cocktail was in the 90s.
Cocktail was in 88 and Color of Money was in 86. Top Gun was 86 as well.
Okay, all right. So, but still, you still have
I could
Risky
see
Business.
Risky Business would be
What about
the
check
main
Rain
thing.
Man?
Rain Man was a little bit later. That was 88 as well.
Okay,
So-
but you still had a couple beforehand, which Risky Business what gave him his break. Tom
yeah,
Cruise.
if you think early 80s
Yeah.
Tom Cruise. It's
So
Risky
I'm
Business.
bringing this up because I see that guy's trying to emulate Tom Cruise. He's got the feather hair, yeah, a little bit, but he's got the smile. I think he's forcing that smile because he doesn't let it go off his face for like the entire time he's in the movie. So he's obviously doing the Tom Cruise. And then on top of that, I said Terminator came out in 84.
Yep.
This is 86. I can definitely see a lot of crap they tried
You
to pull
kept
off.
talking. Yeah, you were talking
Because
about that.
when we have the chance to watch Terminator either together or separately, you'll see it. I can guarantee.
I'll point it out when
You'll
we
see
do.
it
We're
for
gonna.
sure.
We were talking about. We are gonna eventually do real good movies.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that, and we'll definitely.
That'd be
do
one of them. But just to
the
bring it, so I
Terminator.
think that this one punk, he's trying to emulate Tom Cruise as best he can.
Mm-hmm.
So he's doing a horrible job, by the way, though.
So you got him, and then you got the nerd guy. I don't remember these kind of movies. You don't remember the names.
I'm gonna call him Rick Moranis because that's
He
what
does,
he remind me
yeah,
of.
especially the glasses.
Yep. So
So we got the nerd, and then we got Tom Cruise, and then this other dude that we were talking about,
Pepperoni Man.
Pepperoni Man.
We'll explain that joke in a minute, but
Yeah, we'll get to that.
But they're just three bland, vanilla furniture salesmen who are talking about, here comes a wild party they're gonna do.
Yep, and their other friend, who is what did we call the other dude who
Which
looked
one?
like he had the kind of the longer hair. I was saying,
Oh,
kind of looked like a 70s action hero.
Yeah,
kinda.
Scott Stapp from Creed.
Scott Staff. So yeah, we got Scott Staff and his girlfriend coming. I guess they didn't work at the mall, or maybe
Yeah, I
they
don't even know what was
did.
going on there. They were just talking about their car wasn't working, and they got the
Something
car
like
fixed. But
that.
either way, they're shoved into the movie as well.
They are, and then Tom Cruise goes to meet his girlfriend, where she's working at this like very trendy
Yeah.
sport, not a sports store. I would say more like a clothing, young clothing store. It's called MGA. I thought it said MAGA, like Make
wasn't
America
paying
Great
attention.
Again. I was like, oh, okay, all right, this all the way. Oh, it was the Reagan years, so
That's true.
could have
Very
been
true.
around that time. And then his, I remember, no, he was like kissing his girlfriend.
No, he straight up comes in and starts groping her.
Literally.
And she's like, oh, stop it, stop.
Yeah, and his dad is, or her
Her dad shows up, which is hilarious because he looks like he's ready to punch him out, and
Oh
he doesn't.
my God! Yep.
He doesn't. Totally sucks.
And
then,
you pointed out right at the end. I think because the screenplay is just so magnificent that
Yes.
you said one of the lines before it even happened. You know, you never seen it. At the end, he's like, "Oh, I'm sure we'll see." Like the dad says something like that at the end of it. You remember
Oh
that?
yeah. When they're having the conversation, they say something like, "Oh, he'll take care of me," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sure he will." And I said that, and then he says
it
that
directly
Yes,
after
because I knew exactly what was coming next.
it's almost like you could write this movie if you
Yeah,
wanted to.
almost like I lived in the
It's
'80s
amazing. And
in a past life.
we go to a locker room in a mall.
Yes,
There's
which
lockers.
I didn't even know that there was a shower scene in the mall playing all the time. Like you've been to the Galleria, right? I remember dudes swinging their dicks around in the men's locker. Excuse me,
No.
men's bathroom because we don't have that privy in the Galleria.
We don't have, I guess we don't have the locker rooms that they kind of look. They look fake though. I don't think these were actually real, because
You know who I could ask?
your
My mother,
mother.
because she was obviously very busy during the '80s. She could tell me.
Did
if
she
there
work
was...
at the mall?
No, she was at the mall all the time. No.
Well, no. This is specifically though for the mall employees because they're all mall employees. Remember?
Oh, really? I thought that was just the locker room.
No,
That
remember
was
the
like
two
sp-
girls that work at the Italian place?
Yeah.
They are seen after.
Yeah, I just thought they were. I thought they were just in the locker room.
No, that I guess it's for people that work there.
Oh, well, that's
so.
wow. That really made that clear. I thought that was just a regular. I'm like, okay.
Well, I know
whatever.
some jobs back in the day used to have like locker rooms at work and stuff, and you would take a
Okay.
shower before you go to work and stuff, which is the weirdest thing to think about. But
Anyways, we digress. So,
we go on, and then the other scientist is also killed as well. So we figure out that these robots they're evil,
Yeah.
and they're on their
and
way
their method of killing is literally just plucking at their throat.
with these. What did you
Little
call
like a
those?
T-Rex claws.
T-Rex claws.
But then you came up with another one where they look like a little. For anybody out there who's ever seen them, we call them the either extended grabbers or the grabbers where people, either elderly people or disabled people, have difficulty leaning down picking something up. So they got a little cane with the hook at the end of it where you
Yes.
click the handle together and it picks stuff up.
Yep.
They literally got these 4 little grabbers for hands, these robots, and they just come around killing these scientists by literally just plucking their throats out. Like, it's not really, it just literally just go dink, and then blood just starts squirting out everywhere.
And what's crazy
ask
is
me.
they have a $800,000 budget, which I saw, which is
Yeah,
insane.
that's a lot of money.
And you couldn't get like better grabbers for these things.
I've
or-
literally seen movies that have been made for like 100 or 200,000, and
they look better.
Yes,
Yeah.
but whatever,
It
what do I
reminded
know?
me though of like T-Rex, how like T-Rexes are huge, but they have little tiny hands.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with this. So, and then let's point out real quick also what science fiction movies love to do is inside this scientist lair. There's all these buttons flashing everywhere.
always, yeah.
We love that. There's just a bunch of random buttons.
Yeah,
that
that's
have
my
nothing
favorite.
to
Like,
do.
you literally can look from, I don't know how far back you've watched science fiction movies, but like I've seen, like one of the best ones I've seen that are old is Forbidden Planet. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I've
It's
heard of it.
really
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
It's actually really cool. It's from like I think it was
It has
the
like
50s.
dinosaurs in it, right? Doesn't
No, it's it's got Leslie Nielsen in it though, from Naked Gun and Airplane.
it? Forbidden Planet. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah,
real
look,
quick.
it's
I-
really anyone out there like science fiction or old movies.
Oh, from
Forbidden
56.
Planet's pretty awesome.
Yes, with that. Yes,
Robbie the
I
Robot.
have seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Really
a weird
cool.
movie. Yeah,
It's a cool one though, but it really for the time, it's actually dated pretty well. And it
Wow,
comes out
I
pretty well.
remember watching this. He arrives on this planet,
Yeah,
and it's
but
like,
so I bring it up because literally, as far as you can go back, as I can think, excuse me, being into science fiction, the idea of thinking that the future was something that, obviously they didn't know what was coming. So their idea of stuff being the future technology was literally just lights and buttons, and the more buttons, the more lights meant the more advanced. So that it literally has stayed prevalent for years, just until probably recently, I would say.
Yep.
Even then, they still kind of do that crap in some certain TV shows or
They
movies that
still
really.
do it, but I feel like it's more advanced now.
Yeah,
Like,
because think about it. I mean, literally, shows like Star Trek kind of actually predicted like Apple Watches or
Yeah.
stuff like on
iPads, I've heard
iPads
that,
where we're
yeah.
doing
FaceTiming
and stuff
yeah.
like that. So like it has advanced, but to a point where we still use that kind of that unknown of like, well, just more buttons and more lights and more crazy. But it's definitely in this because the whole scientist room is just a bunch of buttons and a bunch of
Just
flashing lights.
Yeah, I do not think this was a part of the mall because they filmed obviously at the mall, but I
Yeah.
don't. This was probably on a set somewhere as well, and it's just goofy. So the robots kill the last remaining scientist. So I guess there's multiple scientists on
There's two.
on schedule. Okay, there's only two. That's
And so I guess one lives his entire life working the day shift,
and then the ones
leaves,
at
and the
night.
guy's at night, and that's it.
See, if the scientist is there at night, why do we need the robots?
Don't ask too many questions, man.
Why don't you lock the damn door? How about that? And if there's
Oh, that's something you forgot to mention, that the security doors are literally like locked vaults in a bank. They're not
Yeah.
just like doors just locked.
no,
like,
they're like on a spaceship, like
they're
Star
literally
Trek, like
and
yeah.
they
I call
are
them pod bay
Yeah,
doors,
they're
like-
pretty much like a spaceship, a space shuttle, something literally you'd see in a sci-fi movie, and
But
it goes whoosh, and just like they suction together.
I think it's only though for the room with like to go to the scientist layer, right? Because I don't.
No, I think it's no, because remember at the beginning when the guy's giving his presentation,
Yeah,
he
that-
mentions that they have these
Yeah,
to
but
keep the whole.
Is it certain? Okay, maybe it's
No,
because
because it happens more than once.
Oh,
Because they were
okay.
like, whoosh, whoosh.
That's where I kind of found it comedic. I didn't think like that's where I was like, if you're putting stuff like this that we would normally see in Star Trek in a mall, like
Yeah.
this has got to be goofy. There's no way that people are taking. But you were like, it's the '80s. We're trying new stuff.
That's what I'm saying though. It was the
It's
80s.
a new
because,
generation, So we cut from
bless.
here to the nerd kind of like prepping because he's about to get introduced to Granny, and of course, nerd
Mm-hmm.
and Granny dating. I didn't see. We'll talk about the end, but I didn't see the end coming with these two.
No, neither did I.
I felt like
actually.
these were the most disposable throwaway
Yep.
characters that you can
I
find.
thought so too.
So
actually.
yeah, and so we
Look at that. We're in agreement again.
wow,
This is sketchy.
this is a good night, honestly. So of course everyone's starting to get ready to. I guess they don't really explain it because they're all spending the night. The ones that
Yes.
are making out and doing stuff, and we
Right.
see all of them doing that.
Oh, we need to go into. I'm gonna go into.
We'll
detail
go into that
'cause
about each one.
We need to talk about
But
that.
but then we see the Granny and the nerd, and he was talking about him possibly dropping her off after.
Yeah. So like, well, nothing's explained. As always, pretty much in every fucking movie we watch,
It
nothing's
rushes
explained.
into it so quick.
But yeah, it's literally just like, hey, we're having a party. Why? Who had, like you said, who has a work party at
Who has a party at their own
their
work?
At their own
Like
work.
you want to go home after work. You don't
Yeah.
want to be at the mall.
And in this case, I was saying, okay, it's a furniture store in the mall, but why does staying after hours at a furniture store in the mall, how is that fun? Because one, unless you don't care, like you're just gonna like say if this was a movie about a group of kids who broke into a mall to have fun for a night, okay,
Good
okay,
idea.
I got that. Employees that are like, we're gonna stay and hang out in our furniture store that we work at, and
You're
we're gonna,
right,
we're gonna,
yeah.
why would you? It's either you're looking to get fired, or you're actually gonna have to spend time cleaning up everything after.
yep.
For what? When you literally could have the same party at someone's house.
And you spent all day in this furniture store.
Yeah, all
Why do
day.
you want to spend more time?
You spend the
Like you're
entire
right.
night.
That'd be a cool angle. Like people break into the mall, then they go to all these different stores. There's
and steal whatever, do
an
it. Yeah.
80s montage was needed so bad for this movie. Like
Yeah.
them doing all different things around
Literally,
the mall.
because that would be, you could even set it in the 80s to explain why kids would care about being in the mall so
Mm-hmm.
much. Literally, that would make more sense. That's actually when you mentioned this, as I thought what it was gonna be, like that kind of thing, like more of
Yeah.
like breaking in or doing something
Breaking
against
in.
the rules or whatever.
Them being younger would have been nice. These people are
like
Definitely
30-something
old.
years
Yeah,
old.
and it
all
makes
of 'em.
sense. Like if you're younger, you're a high school kid, you're working at the mall, and you
Yeah.
want to party in the mall.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
But
not-
these
'cause
people
then-
should have their own places
Yeah,
to do this
that
stuff.
would actually great point because guess what? Kids would not be able to party at their houses because their
Their
parents wouldn't
parents
let
are
'em.
home. That
So
makes
let's
sense.
do the party.
And then introduce he introduced that girl's dad in the beginning. They
Yep.
introduced that. That's a good angle where it's
Yep.
like, well, we can't go over there because the dad's gonna be there or
Right,
whatever.
all
you
that,
know?
but instead they're 35 and they want to party at the Furniture King store. So,
Oh,
if I
so
may do
goofy.
the honors of this one,
Okay,
they're
introduce
partying.
everybody.
So we have I call him pepperoni. We can call him Meat Lovers Pizza because
Perfect.
my boy mentions to this chick how she smells like pepperoni, and she gets all offended, and he's like, "But I like pepperoni," and she's like, "Oh,"
And then she just pulls her tits
Then
out.
she just pulls her tits out, and then she hops on his dick.
Yep.
But I don't want to get ahead of myself. You got those two. You got the nerd lovers who are introduced because they're both, shy and nerdy. So
Yep,
it's
and they
like
both
that's the
meet
whole
each
point.
other,
That's
and
the whole
she
point.
does this like spin around in a chair, like it's almost like a
Bond villain.
Bond
James
villain.
Bond
I was
villain.
thinking like a hair commercial. You know how when they would flip their hair in slow motion.
Yeah,
and
and
stuff? It
the,
reminds me of that.
after they got their hairstyle
Like
and whatnot.
L'Oreal,
Yeah.
like all that kind of stuff.
So they're introduced. You've got Tom Cruise wannabe. You've got Scott Stapp from Creed and his girlfriend for some reason that are there. And
Yeah,
then,
I love how they just came to
Yeah,
the
to
mall.
hang out.
They
because
weren't
they're
even
friends.
working because the other ones, everyone else was
Yeah,
working.
they're all working, and then
So that
they,
makes sense.
Okay, hang out at the mall. Then finally, you've got Tom Cruise's girlfriend, who's the chick from the department store with the dad or whatever.
Yeah.
So they start off their night, they're dancing to some music or whatever, and the nerds are starting to get acquainted. Then
The nerds, by the way, are watching a monster flick.
Yes,
This dude
which-
is that's your first date. I guess that's your first date.
yes,
with a
that's
girl
what I
as well.
literally was like. That's me. That is me because I'd be watching something so stupid if I had the chance. But what was everybody else doing, you may ask? Oh, well, they were separately having sex in different beds
within feet of each
within
other.
feet of each other, like 5 feet of each other.
And you don't like you were saying. Well, you were saying that it's like an orgy, but I don't think that's an orgy. An orgy is when everyone is doing it together.
Right, but I'm still
This
gonna
is
call
like a
that.
separate orgy.
I'm gonna call that lazy orgy because you're pretty much like 5 feet away from each other. Okay,
Yeah.
it's
You have no pride and
Nothing.
That's another thing. Why are you going to? Why doesn't everybody split up? And think about that. That's like in an old classic horror movie.
Yep.
You splitting up like Scooby Doo.
Yep.
You going to different parts of the house. You go to this. Let's all split up. They're literally in the same place.
even
as each
you
other.
know more about Friday the 13th. Well, don't they? They always break
They
up to have
always
sex
split it up.
somewhere else,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Yeah. No, these people they're literally having sex in the model beds in the furniture store. God
Yep.
knows what's even on those things because remember, people are getting in and out, on and off of those mattresses every day to check them out. They're doing the nasty in beds 5 feet away from each other. And then on top of that, we got the nerds sitting 5 feet away from all of them, listening to their sex noises as they watch TV. So personally, for me, that was the high point of the movie because that is one of the weirdest things I've ever heard. Okay, or
Yeah.
seen idea wise. Okay,
is,
that was just nuts.
And it goes on for a while too. And
Yeah.
I remember the robot drives by and he's like, he knows that they're in there, and
Yeah.
we're just kind of as an audience waiting for this to happen. And we cut from there to this janitor, which you said was in what movie?
Terminator.
He was in the original Terminator.
He's been in a lot of stuff I've seen before, but my main I always think about when I see him is the Terminator.
Do you remember his name by any chance?
You
or
mean the actor's name?
the actor's name from the film?
It actually quickly passed by me. Yeah, Dick Miller. He
Miller,
just
okay.
passed away. And I think he had like an insane. I'm looking him up right now. He had an insane amount of credits.
Yes, he's
see
in
here.
Gremlins. He
Yep,
was
that was
in
another one.
Howling.
Hold on,
wow,
let's see how
he was
many.
in a lot.
Yeah,
of
228 titles to his
it.
name.
Wow.
And he was going pretty much up until his death.
See, that's a cool kind of acting role where like you're not like a main, like you're not like a Tom Cruise, you're not like a Leonardo DiCaprio, but you're still getting a bunch of work as like back, kind of
Yeah.
like Danny Trejo, you know?
Kind of like a character actor almost.
Yeah.
Which, real quick, the idea of saying character actor is kind of stupid because everybody's a character actor because they're all playing
Obviously,
characters.
yeah.
It's just, I mean, obviously, it's just a title to describe
But some
somebody
people
who's
play the same character in like every movie.
and that's why they kind of use the term character actors
Character
because
actor,
you use
yeah.
somebody that's describing that they're not a major player in most of the movies they're in. They're usually just that background character or someone who's in a significant role, or sorry, in a significant part.
Yep.
For not that long.
And he's cleaning
So.
up puke. He's doing a bad job at
Horrible
it. As we were
job. I mean,
talking
he's
about.
literally, AC has done cleaning.
I
you
had,
know.
yes, I have
Well,
some
okay,
janitor
yeah,
experience.
I'm saying you've done it before. You've dealt
Yes.
with it before. You have some experience. I've cleaned up my martial arts schools, dojos. I've mopped floors. Usually, when you start wringing out the mop and there's fucking puke coming out of it
Yeah.
and stuff, you usually don't say, let me just throw this back on the floor.
And
and
throw
start-
it back on. Well, another thing too is like, yeah, you wring it out, and then a way to really like get all that puke up and all the kind of gross we're talking about.
Yeah,
this.
it's okay. Don't worry.
But you're getting all that liquid up is you make sure that it's dry and then you put it out. He is just putting it in, putting it out, slopping it, pushing it everywhere. It's like no wonder the other janitors walk by and kind of
they're
make fun of
laughing at
him. They're
Which,
kind of,
I just thought of something. Where the hell did they go?
I don't know. And there's a shot right when a robot, the killbot, comes out of nowhere, and you actually see, I didn't point it out to you, and I should have. You see in the background above, you see a couple people walking by. It might have been like the crew or somebody. But
Okay.
But yeah, these
You
other
should
guys.
have pointed out to me because I didn't see that.
These guys might have left for the night or something like that. And I like how it presupposes that there's other people within this mall,
Right.
but they only get shown whenever a robot kills them.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's, I guess, pretty much it. But
Because that's what I'm saying, like either these guys went home or literally that was just another example of not paying attention to what they're even writing. Because he's cleaning up puke, he's pissed, they laugh at him.
Yep.
Robot shows up, messes up his job, so he
The
gets
robot
pissed.
runs, he runs over the bucket and it goes all over him.
He tackles it, so he gets pissed. He calls out the robot. The robot asks for his ID, and he doesn't listen because he doesn't show it to him.
Yeah.
And he shoots one of the cables at him, misses, and the janitor starts
Goes right
laughing
in the
at him.
puke, yeah.
And starts laughing. I'm like, what was that? And he's like, I work here, but he doesn't show him the badge. So then eventually the robot just electrocutes him straight up. And for whatever reason, that just instantly kills him. Instantly, he just fries.
Well, it shocks the puke and then kills him. That's a crazy
That's what I'm
way
saying.
to
Like,
die,
it shocks the puke, and then he's dead right there. And then each time the recurring joke is the robot says, thank you and have a nice day. And then just
moves away.
goes away.
Moves on. So we're going back to Scooby-Doo and the gang hanging out at Furniture King. And, of course, the one pretty lady, Tom Cruise's girlfriend, is like, I need a cigarette. Because, first of all, he tried to go down on her. And she was like,
Yeah, that was really
I
weird.
don't allow that. And then he was like, well, you allowed that last week or something like that.
Yeah, some really weird, unsexy. Like, all of it was unsexy. Let's get that
Yeah.
right out of the way.
It really
all that
was.
unsexy.
And this girl is like, he's an idiot, 100%. But this girl is just like not attractive in any way that like she was like saying, when I'm happy, everybody's happy. Like you obviously, when you write a screenplay, you want the people who are dying to feel like justified because they're scummy people.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But like Tom Cruise, I don't know really why Tom Cruise was like trying to please his woman. That's
Yeah,
what
well,
he was
and then
doing.
She, poor woman, I don't know what's going on, but it looked like her breasts were trying to run away from each other.
Oh, when he shows,
Yeah,
okay, so
yes.
he's like, oh, I don't know if I want to get you cigarettes because this whole thing happens about cigarettes. And then she's like, well, what about these? And then pulls out,
she says, come back soon.
and then pulls out her tits, and they're going in different directions, completely
they're
different.
literally like part of the Red Sea, and it just went
Waiting for Moses to,
literally, yeah, to climb up her chest.
yeah.
Went
So-
right through.
Tom Cruise, funny enough, he's got no shirt on. He's got his pants on.
My man,
I was waiting for like Risky Business for him to start
sliding out.
Yeah, dancing to. Oh, what is?
Don't tell me you don't know this.
Take those old records off the shelf. Oh God, who sings it? Old Time Rock and Roll by. I was
I'm
gonna
gonna
say
leave this
I was
room.
gonna say Huey Lewis in the
Oh
news,
my God.
but no.
Oh my God. I'm letting
all
you
right, go
suffer
ahead.
on
What
this
is
one.
it? What is it?
Bob Seger.
Bob Seger. Oh, wow, I would have not guessed that.
Wow, for Bob Seger out there, who I know is listening, I'm very
sitting
sorry,
by
sir.
the dial right now.
He's right now.
He's waiting.
He has checked out every single podcast, and he wants to find AC's address so he can come personally whip his ass.
He's like Dr. Loomis in Halloween 6, sitting by that radio,
Waiting.
just
waiting.
waiting for the day. And so yeah, Tom Cruise, he's walking around and he spots a cigarette machine like we were talking about.
Yeah, back in the old days, which was hilarious because
cool.
there's an episode in Miami Vice where he goes to get a pack of cigarettes, and I can't remember if it said 25 cents or 50 cents.
Wow.
And I was like, man, think about it. I mean, I don't smoke, but I got friends that are smokers. And
No wonder everyone was smoking.
And
it's
it's
so
like,
damn
yeah, it's so
cheap.
cheap. I went, at times I'll get a pack for my buddies. They need it. $10.
10,
I'm like,
$13
$10
at the most. Yeah.
It's crazy. So he gets the machine, while working to get the pack of cigarettes.
Well, he's trying. He's like trying his ass off, and then of course the killbot comes behind him, and he shows.
Ask for his identification.
Yep, and he shows him that is correctly, but obviously these are messed up robots, and they don't care about it.
But that's actually real quick. But I was wondering, was it because they were fully messed up, or because remember when the guy at the beginning scanned his ID, he literally did it right in their face. Each time, I might be doing an AC and thinking too much into it, but I almost wonder because they kept showing the janitor didn't show it to him. He kind of just flashed it, and this guy showed it to him, but he didn't come up and literally just put it to his face.
I don't think it matters about the distance to me.
But then why did the guy at the beginning do it right literally in the robots?
Because
like this.
Because him and the robot were like super close to each other. I think that's why.
But he could have just stood there.
Because the robot came to him in the beginning, and then he did it.
But he went literally and put it right to his face. He could have just stood there on the podium away from the robot, and the robot could have just scanned it. That's why.
I'm going to plead the case. So if we're in court right now, I'm going to plead the case for them being insane. I'm going to plead insanity, okay?
Okay.
Because I think that these robots, maybe they do scan it, but then they're like, well, it doesn't matter because I'm still going to kill this person as well. So
I guess what I'm saying is I'm in the middle where I think it messed them up, but also they never really tried to have their stuff scanned. So
yeah, I guess, yeah. But at the same time, it should still shoot a dart. Right? Like that
and
was.
It does though.
These things are yeah, but
it does
more
though.
than that. We'll see.
But with our boy, he goes to do it and it refuses, and it's like, oh, time to die, and then it comes out with its tiny little T-Rex hands, and he gets cornered.
Yeah, and like almost like
a giant crab.
Yeah,
a robot crab. It starts crawling towards him. And he's, pretending to freak out and whatever. Then it shoots him with a dart.
Yep, shoots him with a dart and then goes to grab his throat. And then we cut to the girl looking for him. Obviously, she doesn't know where he's been and all this. And
with ass hanging out because you want to make sure to get that gratuitous nudity in there.
Yeah, she's wearing a thong or something
now,
like that.
I say that because the director was kind enough to make sure to remind you of
You were right.
every
There's
shot.
a shot literally right behind. Yeah. We're getting that.
Right in the butt.
Right in the butt. And she discovers him and his throat slit, which is kind of cool. There's like blood squirting out.
Yeah, I thought that was actually a funny touch. I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah, we got some decent budget in this $800,000 movie.
They knew how to stretch $800,000 in the 80s. That's why.
I just can't believe a film that is an hour and 17 minutes long, mostly taking place in a place of a mall, is $800,000 budget. That's insane to me, dude. It's just crazy how much money you put into a film. And
I wouldn't be surprised if most of the money went to the robots.
Robots, as well as maybe filming in the mall, the permits to film in a mall.
Yeah, well, that was actually one of the trivia things. It said it was that the owner of the mall was happy with them being there. They were able to be there from when they closed to when they opened. Mm-hmm. The head of mall security hated them being there and tried to get them in trouble at all the time, saying that they messed up the mall, they messed this up or whatever. But
they had to. I heard they had. Yeah, didn't they have to like make sure that they
nothing
left
was
no
touched?
trace?
Yeah, no trace. It looked exactly
Which is
the way
crazy,
they came in.
Because they break glass. A bunch of glass gets broken in this movie. There's a bunch of blood, vomit, all this like different stuff that I wonder.
So what I would say, it probably would either that they did stuff with things they brought to set to break and then just cleaned it up, or those are separate shots. Filmed somewhere else, like a stage or a studio, set that was blowing up or whatever.
So this girl, Tom Cruise's girlfriend, eventually, She's walking and notices a killbot. And what happens to this young mistress?
Oh, this is amazing. Well, first she finds his dead, after he found his dead body, then she starts freaking out. She starts doing the really stereotypical screaming and running.
The classic,
if one could say the classic, if you will, if you may.
Go ahead.
Classic.
Go ahead.
As she's running down, oh my God! Her hands are flailing. She keeps getting shot in the ass, mind you, by the robot's lasers. Okay, this is one of my favorite parts of the movie because nowhere did they explain at the beginning that they had lasers.
Nothing.
Nothing.
I think
Not
this
even
is a part
alluding
of the
to it.
electricity, though, with the lightning. That's what I believe.
guess so.
Yeah.
I mean, they never said anything about lasers. Okay, nothing in their defense system. Where they're straight up just shooting Mechagodzilla lasers out of their eyeballs.
Star Wars. I was thinking Star Wars.
Oh well,
Like stormtroopers.
Oh, you're thinking of plasma guns and stuff,
Yes,
that kind
yes,
of crap.
yes, yes.
Either way, so literally shooting bing, 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 right out of his eyes, and they keep clipping her in the ass and in the back, and she's still screaming or whatever.
Yep.
She finally gets in front of the Furniture King.
Just to make a final, very
final,
dramatic final appearance.
Like, not even like run to the door or anything like, hey, come save me or whatever.
Just runs right in front of it.
Runs right in front of it, stays there, and this sucker blows her head off with one of the
Great
lasers.
explosion. I think
Huge
this is
explosion,
awesome.
which it's a great, it's hilarious death. But again, doesn't make any sense because if that was the case, why does it go from the power of literally just scraping them? Like anytime you see them get shot, it's like an ash mark, just like someone took some ash or some coal and just rubbed it on your back, rubbed it on, and then all of a sudden once it goes to her head, it just blows
off the head.
Like if it was that powerful, then their legs should have been just getting blown off. There should be a hole in their back, or if anyone's I'm not gonna say it because you haven't seen that movie. Never mind.
We'll digress. From here, of course, the robots see that everybody's in Furniture King, and they kind of do this little scramble through Furniture King to get away from them.
They come crashing right through the doors.
Yep, they break through the back. The gang goes through the back, and then so the girls go into the air duct, right?
Yes.
And then the guys, because they
guys.
barricade the door, they barricade this door, and then the robots end up putting an explosive on the door, correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's what the part of two things. Okay, they crash through the door. I didn't realize this until later in the movie, but I'm like, what is up with these robots? They were designed, even if they're freaking out, they were designed to protect the mall. Mm-hmm. They're doing nothing to protect the mall. They're destroying it. Second thing is, yes, out of nowhere, he's literally applying this plastic explosive adhesive right to the nuts of the door.
It's like C4, isn't it?
Yeah, literally comes out of nowhere. He just applies it on there, and then it just blows up.
Yep.
So whatever. I guess lightning. Sorry.
I guess
lightning logic.
And they're all just kind of fighting with each other and deciding what to do. And the women go through the air duct, and we were very reminiscent of, it's the 80s. Die Hard. Die Hard came out in what year?
88.
So yeah, this was a little bit before it. Okay, yeah. Maybe some inspiration here.
Maybe, but then I also have to think about every other movie in the 80s that had air
ducts
scenes.
This is a very big air duct time, I guess.
Think about how many horror movies or something that had to do with escaping something. Most of the time, people would always go up into the
air ducts.
Yeah.
So. I guess, it's just common.
But next comes one of the other favorite parts of mine, which is the guys looking for some way to fight back because they're talking about finding weapons. They need weapons. They find a sporting goods store that literally has an arsenal of shotguns, semi-automatic rifles, and handguns and bullets.
And you got shotguns, and they're not locked up. I mean, this is Reagan's America, but I still don't think that in Reagan's America, possibly you could go and buy shotguns.
Assault
rifles that are just out in the open. These are literally sitting out where you would buy clothes, sitting on a stand.
I'm not, obviously I wasn't born in the 80s, but from what I know, anything that's even if you were able to buy that kind of stuff, it was always behind,
locked up,
either in a case or behind the desk, and you'd have to get it. And it was also usually just gun stores.
These are sitting out on display.
They're like toys that you just show up and grab, but they're grabbing semi-automatic rifles and shotguns and giant 44 magnums and a bunch of bullets, bunch of ammunition.
I love that they sell the bullets and they're not even separated. They're all just right next to each other.
Everything's right there. And then they find propane tanks and everything. And then we're treated to a slow-mo, badass walk of the three of them all decked up in their ammo and they ammo belts and everything.
They end up attracting the attention of one of the robots.
Yep.
and they knock over the robot. And like you said, I did see that part, but I had no clue what the point of it was. They knock over this robot, they shoot the crap out of it or whatever, and they leave, and then the robot starts moving. It's like moving its hands, so it obviously means it's still alive.
Yep.
And it does come back later in the film. I was a little bit, I didn't understand what was going on there. I thought it was like its final, like, grab, like, you know.
Doing its thing. Most likely, like I said, I'm almost certain this is that kind of crap that they were ripping off in the Terminator, because I'm not going to tell you what happens, but I can tell you spoiler free, is one of the ideas of the Terminator franchise is that the evil Terminator is usually never dead. Or usually
of
never
course.
destroyed.
That's like same with Jason,
So-
same with everything
So
else.
it's usually never dead. But it was the way that it was portrayed in the films that was different from like places like, or like movies like Jason or whatever.
I guess, yeah.
So,
yeah.
because you haven't seen the first one yet.
Well,
but,
I think of like Terminator 2 of that one. Who is that one dude? The
oh my God.
T-1000?
Yes.
Yes, the
Good,
guy who like
yes.
goes through like metal bars and
Yes,
stuff.
liquid metal.
He
yes.
never dies. That's like
Yeah.
kind of like, I guess, this one as well.
That's the point. So and this is 86, Terminator's 84. I'm thinking that most likely that was another, wink,
Classic.
wink, wink, the classic
Yes,
winkety
yes.
wink, wink to the old Terminator. And so
Possibly, yeah. I think it might just be a science fiction thing too, where it's like robots.
I don't know.
come back.
Personally, in my opinion, only because the fact, like if this came out before it, I would have say, okay, yeah, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
But because Terminator was so successful at that point, like financially and stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
I think it was because they were like, ooh,
Because of
let's
that.
throw a little bit of that in there too and whatnot.
makes sense.
Some of the musical cues were similar and stuff like that. And I mean, pretty much almost everybody borrows from everybody in some way.
Obviously,
for the
making,
some- yeah.
making that.
But
film.
it is 80s movies, so in this case, it's going to be more inclined to think that they try to throw a little bit in there so people were, getting that 80s, Terminator vibe in there.
Of course, and it's a huge, like you said, throughout this film, even they reference. I mean, the same mall was filmed in Commando, and
Yeah.
it's 80s is littered throughout this, and like we said, this film is a combination of science fiction, comedy, and horror. So they're definitely taking elements from every different genre and putting them in here.
So that robot survives, and then
the chicks go to that store where they get gasoline as well as flares. And
Right.
I guess there's flares sitting out on a counter for
Yeah,
some
there's
reason.
flares sitting on a counter. There's just these tubs of gasoline, and the one chick
Why
knows...
would you buy this at a mall? Why would you walk all the way inside of a mall to buy gasoline?
I don't know, but either...
And flares.
Yes, flares.
What?
Just flares. Road flares. Just road flares, just in case.
I guess
So
I
they
don't
get
understand
they
it.
get some makeshift Molotov cocktails with the gasoline cans.
Well, the guys are kind of rigging up the elevator, correct?
Yeah. Yes, for something, because they've got this grand idea about rigging up the elevator to...
But what's weird is we see later in the film the killbots actually end up. I don't know if I should keep using that word, killbots. It's so goofy, but the
Well, that's what they call. I mean,
yeah, I
there's
guess
nothing
it
else.
just
to
feels
call 'em.
weird saying it. But the killbots are seen going up an escalator, and I guess that's their main way of transit.
Yeah, well, this
or
is what you
transport.
and I was laughing about, was like, well, they seem so clunky that the idea that they could just reach you at any point in the mall just seems, stupid, because they literally are just on these little tank tracks. And I personally think that the scene where they're going up the escalator was probably just had a stagehand or someone just holding up the back of the prop, making sure it didn't fall over, because there's
Yeah.
no way this thing was gonna be going up an escalator.
Can fit like the you're talking about like the
The treads.
dimensions.
Yeah, I'm talking about
of them.
the tire.
But like the length and the width.
both.
Of like,
Yeah, I think all of it, because think about it, you got the tire.
they're pretty wide too.
The
like
tire treads, whatever you want to call them. I
Yeah.
like to call them the tank treads, because
the
it's
tracks,
just like
yeah, whatever they're called, yeah.
and the tank tracks or tank treads, whatever you like to call them. But like, I have a hard time believing those are just gonna go up an escalator and they're gonna be okay. Like, it's not gonna just start going up and it's just gonna like either
No,
start
it would
sliding
fall
down,
back,
it's gonna fall
especially
backwards.
gravity. Yeah, yeah.
So I have a hard time believing that.
And so after this, the girls, they try their hand at trying to destroy
Yeah,
one
this
of the
is
robots.
amazing. I love this.
Probably one of the dumbest plans ever. So they take the gas cans, they light them on fire, and they throw them at the robot. Which,
Killbot.
Yeah, Killbot, which doesn't make sense. You slide a gas can at them, and then the whole ground starts on fire. If it's like a metal robot, I don't think fire is gonna do anything, because fire can't. Metal's
They're
not
trying
flammable.
to. They were trying to do a makeshift Molotov cocktail
And blow it up.
and blow it up, but
it doesn't do
that doesn't
anything.
happen. And then comes one of my favorite sequences of the movie, which is the one pepperoni girl there. She gets shot in the leg, which completely just incapacitates her to the point where she doesn't even try to crawl away or get
Nope.
away to safety. Like, it's literally just in her calf.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she doesn't try to limp away, get away, whatever. Her quote, and I'm doing air quotes, so anyone listening, air quotes, her friends literally sit like 5 feet away from her and refuse to help her
Yeah.
in any way while she's like crying out for help as the killbot slowly, getting to her. And then, literally, this goes on. This stretches on. Like, there's no reason why they shouldn't be helping this girl at all. And literally, then she gets set on fire. This poor chick, gets set on fire, and she dies burning alive.
Yep.
Because they did not help her at all.
Yep. And her boyfriend shows up, which is Pepperoni Man. No,
That's Pepperoni Man.
it is Pepperoni Man. So he gets pissed off. So he distracts the one robot and makes him chase him into the elevator. He sneaks up through the top of the elevator, which is cool. Those like indoor elevators malls still have them. The one by us has one. It's like goes up and it's like it's indoor, but it's like a lot of the times you see an elevator, it's in a wall, so you can't see it go up and down.
The point is what he's trying to say is that there's a window. Where you can see outside the window, and you can see everyone else in the mall. You can see their stores.
Yeah, it's a cool little like pod. It's like kind of like
it's like a pod. That's exactly it. Yeah.
So it goes through. He goes through the top of it, and the robot, of course, goes inside, and he jumps off of it, super like dramatically jumps off of it, and
you can definitely tell it was not the same dude because second it was a cut shot of the dude jumped off. You didn't see the end of that, but then it was a cut to obviously the guy who they yelled action, and he just did a somersault or a shoulder roll
through that. Yeah, right. Like cut it real quick. Like he did it on the ground, like not actually in the air. And they proceed to shoot the crap out of it, and the nerd girl shoots it, and it blows up. And the elevator, like we said, they should have put those inside the elevator, but they did a good job because they dropped the whole elevator. The elevator goes down, slams, blows explodes up, and it kills the robot. So that's pretty cool. Then we move on back to Luigi's Italian restaurant.
Yep, they're having
they're all kind of just sitting around,
chilling, trying to pull themselves together,
figure out what's going on. And then I believe it is Pepperoni Man gets a little feisty.
Yeah, because no one cares. Which honestly, he's totally right because these bastards, these ungrateful little CUNTs. They literally left his girlfriend to die, because we saw it literally. In this case. Like, usually I'd be like, oh, the guy's bitching, whatever. No, like, they actually just, they did nothing to help this woman.
No.
So for once in a B movie, I'm actually cheering for a guy like this character. But he gets pissed.
And he, because he's talking to the nerd, and the nerd's like, well, there's a computer system, and there's a way to shut him down. By the way, that
never happens. Yeah, I forgot about that. Not even tried.
They talk about it later in the film, but they don't do anything with it. And at the end, we don't even see them try to go into the
That's fine. I wasn't even thinking about that. You just brought it up.
Yeah, I think that like they just didn't have enough time to film at that separate studio, and they just gave up with it, like screenplay wise. But so he runs out, super pissed off, runs up the escalator, and who's at the top of the escalator? A killbot.
And he awkwardly grabs him with one little claw and
just throws him
off
the edge,
and he falls to his death. So Pepperoni Man is no more.
They're trying at this part, I believe, the remaining, I think it's 4 of them. They're trying to get to this computer system. I thought they get into like this department store. They close the gate and everything like that, and then there's 2 robots chasing them. And from there, I was like, okay, well then they're definitely gonna go shoot down everything. They're gonna go, what
they're gonna stick with the plan that they just talked about like 5 seconds ago.
Talking about right, and
nothing
at all.
They just have a moment where they take a rest, and then here comes the killbot. He's been frying through the gate the entire time with which I guess torch powers that these robots now have as well.
Yeah,
ever changing.
But they don't show the robot doing it. You just see it happening, and then them standing in front of it. Yeah.
Oh no, that's what. No, it had laser beam. It was. I'm sorry.
Well, it was laser beam, but
I said torch powers. I thought like a welding torch. Yeah. Sorry, he had a laser beam.
But it doesn't. But the thing is it shows that in the beginning, and then like near the end where he actually like gets through the whole thing, they don't show the robot still doing it.
Yeah,
it just implies it because it's like the most laziest way to put action. It's like imagine if Michael Myers was like about to stab somebody, they just put Michael standing there and then the girl getting cut and
Yeah.
They think that you're supposed to think
We're
in your
doing a
head.
one-arm chin-up.
Yeah, but that's good if like the action already happened. Like we're watching the torch literally move while the robot is standing there doing nothing.
Remember also, something I thought about. It opens the door, it opens the gate. It cuts through it. It does nothing. It doesn't go through it. It doesn't find them in the store. They literally come out.
They come out and
with
they're
a bunch
hiding.
of mannequins.
They're hiding by the mannequins, yeah, which confuses the robot and kind of throws it off balance or whatever.
And then they expose some mirrors because the mirrors are reflecting the lasers back at the robot. Don't forget about that.
And the 70s action hero, Scott Staff, ends up dying.
Yeah, sad. Well, because what happens is first, that's actually a little detail because I love his death. His death is just so stupid. The robot freaks out because he's short-circuiting and he's shooting his laser everywhere, and Scott Staff's girlfriend gets hit once. Looks like she's fine, but of course she's dead because that's how everyone dies in this movie.
Yep.
She's dead, and he's like, "My love, no!" And he jumps on one of those super slow. You'd have to see what it looks like. I don't even know what you describe those. I know what they look like. It's the little cart thing he drives.
Yeah, the carts. Yeah.
But I don't know what to call those things. But it's like a little...
Almost like a golf cart, kind of.
Kind of like a disability scooter golf cart. He hops onto this thing, and he just crashes into the robot at super slow speed.
And then he gets electrocuted.
He gets electrocuted and dies.
Yep.
Just like that.
That's it.
Like, it's so anticlimactic. Literally hops in this little... Like, you ever seen Ace Ventura?
Yes.
Do you remember the part when he gets into the boat?
I haven't seen the whole thing, so I'm sorry.
You suck, AC. God.
I'm sorry. That movie bores me.
Watch these
I'm not
nuts.
even gonna joke.
That's okay. I mean, that's not for everybody. It's an over the top movie, but there's a part where it does something stupid where he gets into a boat and he takes out a fan to use as a propeller, and he literally just moves an inch and then stops and gets out. So he just moves the boat like an inch and then gets back out.
Oh, okay.
But I bring that up because it's exactly what this guy looks like, because he hops in the stupid cart and it goes like an inch and then he just crashes and electrocutes. So it's so stupid. Let's go. Scott Staff's dead.
So they're dead. So now we just got Granny and the nerd.
Which totally surprised me, too, about the fact that the last two...
we were saying the most boring characters. They're not evolved. You're not rooting for them. You don't want them to survive. I don't even understand why this is a thing. Who knows? I don't know who made this decision, but they split up and they're going through, and the girl gets caught by one of the robots, and the guy comes out and starts shooting the robot and everything, and of course he gets pushed back, and we think he's dead. We assume that he's dead.
That's what it is. That the robot picks up one of the propane tanks with his little claws and chucks it at the nerd. And it hits him slightly, and he falls backwards.
He falls back, and then he says, "Thank you, have a nice day."
Yeah, there's like blood coming out of the back of his head, so it's like, oh, I guess he must be dead. So then the chick starts running away.
And then, I don't even want to talk about this part because it's just so long, but the girl is running away from it. Goes into a pet shop for some reason.
Yeah, that was real. Okay, well, we give the condensed version because it really is
very
stretched
quick.
out. She goes into a pet store to hide. The animals break out a little bit, so there's a bunch of spiders and snakes slithering around and crawling around, and she just hides there. It's supposed to obviously be suspenseful, but it's just boring. We want to get it over with. She's stuck. Robot gets away. The robot goes away. She gets up and gets away, but then not for long, spotted again. So she finally makes a last stand by running into this paint shop because she remembers she has a flare. She has a flare in her bra that she put in.
And
earlier.
like we were saying, probably paint back in the day was flammable, but I don't think it's flammable anymore. And there was also using a primer, which I know those things I think are oil based, which might be flammable.
Or I see what you said. Probably because I don't know enough about paint in that time period, but probably oil. A lot of it had oil because obviously it did, or she wouldn't have been opening up. She begins opening up a bunch of paint cans. Primer cans and everything, just pouring it into
Sets up this trap.
One big, quote, trap.
Yep.
And then literally just says, come on, come get me, whatever. And then here comes the dumbass robot with his hands up in the claw position. And he comes, he comes a claw into her. And she runs out of the way, gets in position, and then says, "Have a nice day."
Kills him. Cool.
Throws it, and it just has this giant-ass explosion. Huge.
How they did this in the mall, which is crazy.
Which again
was a set.
Yeah, most likely was probably either done in a different spot, different set, different stage. Because I doubt they would have been able to control something like that inside of a mall.
That makes sense.
Be allowed to do that. In my opinion, obviously. In my opinion.
Yeah.
But so finally, it explodes. And personally, I thought that wasn't the end. I thought that robot was gonna start moving again.
Yeah.
That was
Which
my
is
personal.
like your Terminator.
Yeah.
You expect this
I
because you see
expect, yes.
Terminator and
And I felt
films
because the
do
way it
it.
was going and like I don't know, whatever. But it was just I think it's because I know exactly what kind of scene they're ripping off. So I think they were just going for that
Trick
tone.
ending. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
it's just that tone, that atmosphere of what I'm thinking of, and I'm being vague because I don't want to ruin it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So then she, limps off to who? Guess who was right?
Her
AC.
nerd boyfriend. I knew it was gonna happen. Her
Here he
nerd
is
boyfriend.
with a giant like gaping head wound. No, he has that roll of fucking toilet paper.
So I guess I don't know if he. So the toilet paper is like full of blood, right? And I was
Yes.
thinking like maybe
covered in blood.
Maybe he used that as like a way to like trick the robot into him being dead. Like maybe that wasn't his blood.
No, I
or
think
do you think he was just wiping up his blood?
I think he was wiping up his blood.
But then it's like, dude, like, did he just wake up after this all happened? Like he could have helped that girl. That girl's life was on the
Yeah,
line.
he's probably like you don't ask those kind of questions, man.
Like what a coward, dude. Honestly.
But hold on a second. Let's be real though. The chick who survived sat by for like 5 minutes while she didn't help that other chick. So
I don't know.
think about it. Oh no, hey, think about it. The granny.
I'm not gonna think about it.
Yes, you will because you've made me do it. I don't know how many times. Okay, so this time it's switched, but you're gonna damn well listen to this. Granny, okay, you said why didn't Granny, get some help from Nerd Boy? Well, Granny literally sat there for like 5 minutes while the other girl burned to death for no reason.
Yeah.
Literally, I mean they could
But
have.
he wasn't there for it, so he wouldn't have known that she's a coward. They're both cowards.
But we know.
But all right, well,
and
that's
then they embrace, and we get this weird exiting angle shot of where like it must have been
the elevator.
the camera guy in the elevator where it just like pans out and they're just hugging, and it's like.
And
they
that's
break.
the end. And then we get the great montage in the 80s, kind of montage.
Yes. One of my favorite things about the 80s is when a lot of different which is hilarious because it spans so many different movies and genres. Because even this, because it's not a spoiler, but even in Predator, like a movie like Predator, an action horror sci-fi movie, literally the credits are the same way.
As that.
You have Arnold Schwarzenegger, all the different people
Just
with a
small
little
clips.
little clip of them smiling or doing something with a gun with their name and their title in the movie, and so you got the same thing. You got that same classic 80s title cards for the
I would
actors
call
at
that
the
a
end.
classic. You're right.
It is. I love that stuff. So. And then we're at the end.
Yeah, in the soundtrack, we didn't talk about the soundtrack.
Oh crap! Yeah, let's
It's
get on that.
Awesome. In this
I loved
movie.
it too. It was It was so 80s. And it
It's
was ridiculous.
The same melody replayed, and it sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower. It was very lazy, but it's great. And I've seen people have this soundtrack on vinyl.
Oh my god!
I've seen somebody own it on vinyl, so
Oh my god!
we'll get to that. But
That's
all right.
I would love. That would actually be something I'd want because I'd love to see what the cover of it looks like.
Oh, I think it's
Yeah.
like blood splatter red vinyl too, like red, like. Yeah,
See, that's funny.
It's really cool.
That's funny to me. Okay.
Yeah, some vinyls it's like, and same with Blu-ray. Some people want to put everything on Blu-ray, and I feel like meh when it comes to like certain things. And
Yeah.
there's Chopping Ball Blu-ray, by the way.
Chopping balls.
I almost said Chopping Ball, yes, but there is a Blu-ray for that. So, Scrooge.
Yes.
So, let's give it a rating and get the
Okay.
hell out of here.
Yeah, that sounds good. So we're talking about. If you remember our do you remember our rating system?
I was
Mason?
thinking about it today. I was like debating like if we could. I don't think we have the sheet on us, but
we do. But let me help you. Remember, we help the people. You have one that is just straight bad or unwatchable.
okay.
You have two that's like, man, didn't hate it, didn't love it. And you have three, enjoyed it, it was watchable. And then you have four, which is so bad it's good. I love it. I want to see it again. And it's just, in the caliber of bad movies, it's something I love.
Okay. All right. What
So,
would you say?
Me, I would give it like a 3.5 or so.
Okay.
Why? Because this is actually enjoyable. This is enjoyable for me. It was stupid. Like, everything was stupid about it. You got freaking killer robots in the mall. Just the premise itself, it's so stupid.
Goofy. Yeah.
Acting's bad in a good way. Writing's bad in a good way. And it, for the most part, except for that one part with the chick hiding in the pet store, it moves along pretty quickly.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not a drag. It's not like me sitting there getting tortured for like, an hour and a half, the longest
Like
hour
some
and a
of
half.
these movies.
Some of these movies that we've just literally wanted to kill ourselves. So it's like, it didn't drag on that bad. Like I said, and then the effects, some of the deaths. I mean, the deaths for freaking, some of the deaths of the, the puke electrocution, the girl getting her head blown off by the lasers, stuff like that. For me, it's about 3.5 because it was watchable this first time. Would I watch it all the time? I don't think, but I would watch it again either with another friend, like another person who likes old bad movies, or maybe on my own. But for sure, someone else who likes bad movies, if I want to introduce it to them.
It's a good midnight movie. You could watch this at night and fall asleep to it.
Honestly. Right.
It's
so that'd be for me. How about you?
See, I'm weird. I'm split because the first half of this movie I love. I really love it. Like I said, I only normally watch this film up to a certain point. I never saw the whole thing. And I would say up to that moment, which is the moment where they're forced out of the furniture store. Like everything before that, I would give it easily a 4. I would say go and watch this movie. Okay. But it gets so slow and it drags towards the end where I'm kind of at like a 2 and a 3. Okay. So I guess a median would probably be a 3. I think it would be a very light 3. Definitely not a strong 3. And it's more like it's not fully a 2, but it's not really a 3. It's kind of in the middle. So I guess maybe even a 2.5-ish, because my main thing about these kind of movies that are goofy and stuff like that is like they're in and you're out. And this film's only an hour and 17, but it drags. Yeah. It just drags so bad at the end. It tries to be suspenseful. It tries to play it really, stealthy and whatever. It's just, you don't need that in these films.
No, that definitely, that part is what kills like it from being like really from start to finish a really horror movie you can just enjoy.
It doesn't, and I would love to see like more shots of like things outside the mall, like other things going on. Maybe what's happened to those janitors, because the only 2 set pieces in this whole entire thing is the actual mall itself, as well as the scientist place or whatever, the scientist lair or whatever, laboratory.
The man cave, the science cave, the science cave.
But other than that, I think it's super fun. It's always well known as a fun cult classic, but I think there's better cult classics out there.
Oh, I definitely agree.
I think there's a lot better ones. This one, I had to show you just because it's so 1980s.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I'm glad.
There. And hey, this is our last. I forgot what I was calling it. Our last Halloween episode for this month of October.
Right. Yeah, tomorrow is
Halloween, which is cool enough. Yeah,
so safe and happy Halloween out there, anybody.
This entire year has been spooky because of everything that's going on. It has been,
say the least,
has been a mess. But I'm excited because we got November coming up. We're going to be doing a Thanksgiving episode.
Yes.
Which is great. See our episode on that when it comes out. And then Christmas time, we got some great Christmas films lined up.
One's great for the whole family. Really, they capture the spirit of giving and Christmas, wouldn't you say?
I'm going to say, huge hint, Hulk Hogan will be on the episode soon. I've been waiting for him to be on our episode. We will do the Three Ninjas we need Hulk Hogan movie. We will do
Hulk Hogan.
Hulk. I was like, Hulk.
No, it's okay. Literally, if you listen to promos of like wrestlers talking about Hulk Hogan, Macho Man does it all the time. He says Hulk Hogan.
It's almost like dumb to say Hulk Hogan. Like
not really.
2 H's though. It's I don't know.
If you ever heard a promo with anyone who's so coked up and so rated up, they say Hulk Hogan all the time. So you're playing with the big dog, baby. Don't worry about it.
How much coke did Randy Savage do?
I think if Mount Everest was a mountain of coke, he would have climbed the top.
Wow.
That'd be my opinion. And
with that, it is Chopping Mall, 1986. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Scrooge, for checking this out.
Thank you, AC, for not giving me a big pile of shit. I appreciate it.
Well, we tried. We were going to go. We had 2 steaming piles of shit, but
2
we flushed
strikeouts.
Those.
Luckily, we did not strike out all the way.
We flushed them, and then this one, this one was floating at the top of the
It cleansed the palate. That's what happened.
Perfect. All right, cool. Well, I'm AC.
I'm Scrooge.
And this was a real fun movie. But it was also real
bad movie. Now, office workplace orgies. Let's have a talk about that now. Like, who do you invite to the office place orgy? Do you invite the boss, or do you invite the boss's wife? Now, my question to you is also, who brings the condoms? Like, is that something that you should do, or do you just raw dog it? I mean, really, you're a team, right? You're supposed to be a team. It's a team effort when you go into work, so it might as well be a team effort when you're making each other come, So it's like, you'd think that if you're gonna do something together,